There are some stories that haunt us, not because of the violence we can see, but because of the silence that follows. Stories where someone vanishes without a trace, leaving behind fragments of a life, small, unsettling details that don't add up. A shoe here, a water bottle there, clothing draped strangely on a branch, like someone wanted to leave a trail, or erase one. This is the story of Sophia Coetzee, a bright 21-year-old Dutch medical student who left Amsterdam full of hope and curiosity, ready to begin a new chapter in Uganda. She dreamed of helping others, learning from a different culture, and exploring the world beyond the cobblestone streets of her hometown. But in October 2015, during a safari trip to Murchison Falls National Park, Sophia walked into the trees and never came back. Her disappearance has left her family searching for answers for nearly a decade. And as of today, there is no body, no confirmed explanation, and no closure. Before we step deeper into this mystery, if you're new here, welcome to Dark Matters TV. This is where we uncover the human stories behind true crime, exploring not just what happened, but who it happened to. If you believe stories like Sophia's deserve to be remembered, make sure to subscribe. It helps us keep telling the stories of those who can no longer tell their own. Sophia Coetzee was born on December 7, 1993, in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. The oldest child in her family and the only daughter, Sophia grew up alongside two younger brothers. From an early age, she showed the kind of personality that drew people in, bright, ambitious, curious about the world around her. Her parents described her as adventurous, someone who loved to ask questions, who was always eager to learn. At school, she thrived academically, but it wasn't just grades that defined her. She was the type of person who found beauty in small things. The way light hit the canals in the evening, or the way stories of faraway places sparked her imagination. Amsterdam gave her a rich foundation. Its cultural diversity, its emphasis on internationalism, and its balance between tradition and modern life. Sophia absorbed it all. She was athletic, she loved spending time outdoors, and she carried an openness toward the world that her family knew would one day take her far beyond the Netherlands. By the time she entered university, Sophia had decided on a path in medicine. She wanted to dedicate her life to healing, not just in her own country, but abroad, where access to care was often limited. That desire, to give, to serve, to see the world, was what eventually led her to Uganda. In the summer of 2015, Sophia's dreams started to take shape. She secured a medical internship at Lubaga Hospital in Kampala, Uganda, a city alive with noise, color, and contradictions. On August 30th, 2015, she boarded a plane in the Netherlands and left home behind. For her family, there was pride, but also worry. Uganda was a world away from the familiarity of Amsterdam. But Sophia was determined, and she promised to keep in touch, sending messages and updates about her work. At Lubaga Hospital, Sophia was immersed in an entirely different medical environment. Patients with illnesses she rarely saw back home, limited resources, and long lines of people in need. Yet she thrived. Her colleagues remembered her as hardworking, compassionate, and eager to learn. She wasn't just going through the motions of an internship. She was living out her calling. But Uganda wasn't all work. Sophia wanted to see the country, its landscapes, and its wildlife. Alongside two fellow Dutch medical students, she planned a safari trip to Murchison Falls National Park, a sprawling reserve in northwestern Uganda, where the Nile River crashes through a narrow gorge, creating one of the most dramatic waterfalls in the world. It was supposed to be an adventure, a celebration at the end of her internship, a trip to remember. I do hope you already hit the subscribe button. It helps us to keep telling stories like this, so as to help educate people and also remember Sophia. On October 28, 2015, Sophia and her friends arrived at Murchison Falls National Park. The park is breathtaking, endless savannas, elephants moving slowly through tall grass, giraffes stretching their necks toward the trees, and the roar of the Nile crashing below. For Sophia, this was the culmination of her time in Uganda, experiencing the wild beauty of Africa firsthand. They joined other tourists, walked the trails, and enjoyed the scenery. At some point that day, Sophia reportedly told her companions she was going to the toilet. She stepped away, disappearing into the brush. It was a simple, ordinary action, something any of us might do without a second thought. But Sophia never came back. Minutes stretched into hours. Her friends grew uneasy. At first, they thought maybe she had lost her way, maybe she had taken a wrong turn. But as the sun began to sink and Sophia was still missing, fear set in. Something was wrong. The search for Sophia started quickly. Rangers, local authorities, and volunteers combed the area around where she was last seen. Helicopters flew overhead. Boats patrolled the Nile. The terrain was difficult: dense bush, steep drops, and the unforgiving force of the river. At first, there was hope she had simply gotten lost. Maybe she had wandered off and would be found tired, but safe. But then, searchers began to find items. Scattered along the riverbank and hanging from tree branches were pieces of evidence, if you could call them that. A plastic water bottle filled with trash. A shoe. A pair of sunglasses. Pieces of clothing, including black underwear that had been pulled over a branch, and torn textiles fluttering in the breeze. Some of the items were later identified as belonging to Sophia. Others were less certain. But one thing stood out to investigators and her family. The way the items appeared was strange. Not natural. Almost as if they had been placed there deliberately. This wasn't the scene of a wild animal attack. There was no blood, no drag marks, no remains. There was no proof she had entered the river, no sign of a struggle. Just scattered belongings, eerily arranged. From the very beginning, theories circulated. Some believed Sophia may have slipped and fallen into the river. The Nile at Murchison Falls is incredibly dangerous, its currents swift, its rocks unforgiving. If she had been swept away, recovery would be nearly impossible. But others questioned this explanation. Why would her belongings be found hanging on branches, or pulled over a limb like a signal? How could underwear end up stretched around a branch in such a deliberate way? Then came darker theories. Could someone have harmed her? Had she been abducted? Was the scene staged to throw investigators off? Ugandan authorities launched an investigation, but results were inconclusive. Dutch authorities joined, urging more thorough searches, but time passed and no body, no definitive evidence, and no answers emerged. For Sophia's family, the disappearance was unbearable. They had sent their daughter to Uganda full of hope, expecting her to return with stories and experiences. Instead, they were left with silence and confusion. In the months following her disappearance, they established the Find Sophia Foundation, dedicated to keeping her case alive, raising awareness, and pushing for answers. They wanted to ensure Sophia was not forgotten, not just another missing person lost in a foreign land. Her parents traveled, gave interviews, and pleaded for continued investigation. They held on to hope, even as the years dragged on. Every small lead, every rumor, was pursued, but nothing concrete emerged. By the 5th anniversary of her disappearance, Sophia's family admitted what many already knew. They still had no idea what happened to her. The most haunting part of Sophia's story is the absence of closure. With no body, no confirmed cause, and no definitive evidence, her family is left in a state of endless limbo. Did Sophia fall into the Nile? Was she the victim of a crime? Was the scene staged to mislead investigators? These questions remain unanswered. For those who knew her, Sophia was more than a case file. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. A young woman who wanted to make a difference in the world, whose life was just beginning. Her disappearance is not just a tragedy, it's a wound that never heals. And for us, it's a reminder of how quickly an ordinary moment can turn into a nightmare. 1 minute, you're stepping into the trees for a simple reason. The next, you vanish without a trace. Nearly a decade later, the disappearance of Sophia Coetzee remains unsolved. Her family continues to hope for answers, even as the years pass. The Find Sophia Foundation still stands as a testament to their love and determination. And while Sophia's story may not have the neat resolution of other cases, it deserves to be told, because silence only deepens the loss. If you found yourself moved by Sophia's story, please take a moment to subscribe to Dark Matters TV. By doing so, you help us keep these stories alive, shining light on the mysteries that should never be forgotten. Sophia's life was more than the moment she disappeared. She was a daughter of Amsterdam, a healer in training, a dreamer who set out to change the world. And somewhere, her story still waits for an ending. Until then, we remember her, like always stay safe and stay aware.